Hello, people of Earth, and hello, Gerard Butler fans. You know, here on How Did This Get Made, we have spent a lot of time critiquing, looking at, analyzing Gerard Butler films. And there's one thing that we can say. The man never gives a bad performance. And guess what? This weekend, he might be giving one of his best performances of all time in a little movie called Den of Thieves 2. But don't take my word for it. Listen to someone very close to the film.
Hello, people of Earth, and what's up, jerks? It's me, Gerard Butler. So, I heard you've been talking about me a lot on your little show, and I also heard that you're big fans of Den of Thieves. Well, if you like the first one, you're gonna fucking love this one. It's the most exciting action you've ever seen. It is the biggest, most brilliant heist you've ever seen. And the best performances you're ever gonna see in all of human history, especially from WoW. It is surprisingly emotional. So, if you want to see a real good movie, make sure to check out Den of Thieves 2.
Thank you, Gerard Butler. And you heard the man. Get your tickets to Den of Thieves 2. You know I am. I mean, I'm first in line. Thank you, Gerard Butler, for doing that. I can't believe that you did. We love you, and we promise we will not make fun of any more of your movies. You know, I cannot say that we won't do that. As a matter of fact, enjoy Dracula 2000. Today's show is sponsored by the Virgin Megastore. When Drah-cool-ya wants songs that don't suck, he goes to Virgin. We saw Dracula 2000, so you know what that means.
Now it's time for How Did This Get Made? We're gonna have a good time, celebrate some failure, not just be a hater, cause you know you wonder, how did this get made? Let's wallow in the mediocrity of subpar art. Perhaps we'll find the answer to the question, how did this get made?
Hello, people of Earth, and welcome to How Did This Get Made? I am Paul Scheer, and today we are talking about Dracula 2000, a film that you all picked. That's right. You voted for this film out of a list of 10 films on the Discord. We had no say. We had no option. We gave it all to you. We wanted to see how you would do if you could best our amazing producer, Errol Halley, who picks all of our films. And you know what? You brought some heat. You gave us a Gerard Butler film that came out, and you guessed it, 2000. And what do you need to know? Dracula. He's in New Orleans. It's 2000. Vitamin C is in it. The singer. All right, let's break it down and introduce my two co-hosts. Please welcome Jason Mantzoukas and June Diane Raphael. How are you both?
Well, now I know who to blame. I didn't know they made us watch this. So that seems like punishment.
They have been begging to pick a movie, and
this is what they chose.
This is it. Old school Jerry Butler action. By the way, Jerry Butler is Dracula. We love Gerard Butler on the show. And this does not look like the Gerard Butler that I know and love. I mean, this is like...
Can I just say something? I did not know it was Gerard Butler until about 45 seconds ago.
Wait.
What?
Whoa!
No, and there were many points where I thought, God, he looks a lot like Gerard Butler. And then I thought, I wonder who that guy is. And then I thought, wow, I wonder if that guy and Gerard Butler were coming up around the same time. And then Gerard Butler just
in fact,
took
they
off. Yeah, I had so many. I mean, I was very much so with Gerard Butler watching this movie, but was also like, who that's not is Gerard Butler. Like,
wow.
The physique.
Yes, very different.
He is like...
The bone structure, just his body's like...
Very lean and lithe.
Structure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
He
like
looks
Pilates bod.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit like James Franco meets like the cover of a romance novel, like the character to me,
he looks like, I feel like they modeled him after the Dream in The Sandman. In Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. Like, I feel like they have him looking exactly like Dream, which is very weird and interesting. But I thought he looks great. And this is, I'm assuming, right? This is before 300? Is that right?
Yes. This is 2000. This is before 300. He was actually doing a play on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
And they gave him a break to come shoot this life-changing movie, this movie that was going to change everything.
Like 300 really broke Gerard Butler huge, but also broke him in a way that made us feel like he's meant to be this big, beefy, muscular. That's the body type.
Fascinated. And I have to say, after watching this, I'm like, not only does Gerard Butler.
How do you think Gerard Butler?
That's the T-shirt. Gerard's Butler. It's his Alfred. He's like, I'm home, Alfred.
I really was like, oh, it can't be him because, of course, I find him to be a bigger presence on screen always.
Yes.
Well, and that's one of the things that I wrote is I was like, they're giving him nothing. They're giving him nothing to do, barely any lines. And the true disservice to him and everybody else who's a vampire is the fake vampire teeth are making the lines they do have sound weird.
Okay,
really.
Well, I mean,
so much to say about those teeth.
The teeth. I have a lot to say about the teeth. I will also say that this movie starts off in a place that's very hard for me, which is a place I like to call accent confusion. There are so many accents coming in that first speaking scene. I mean, we don't need this prologue of a ship at sea, but we have it. But then once people start speaking, I'm like, Christopher Plummer, you're doing something. Jennifer Esposito, you're doing something. Johnny Lee Miller, you're doing something. And I'm like, my brain couldn't
Gerard
handle
Butler's
it.
doing something.
Oh, yeah.
But Mary in New Orleans is doing, none of their accents.
I thought she was Tatiana Maslany for a while.
What?
Yep.
Tatiana Maslany from the year 2000?
I know. So much was going on.
She wasn't born then. No, but I mean, like, I couldn't, nobody's accents made sense to where we were meeting them also.
No.
You know? No. So you're like, here we are in London, Christopher Plummer, in fact, has is Van Helsing German or Austrian or what is Van Helsing?
I thought Austrian. I don't know, but not like British.
No, but he's doing a weird accent. He's doing like a German Austrian accent.
Everyone,
but
I
it
feel
was
like
also so British at points.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like the accent work in my favorite accent film.
House of Gucci, baby.
Exactly.
House of Gucci.
Yeah.
Mamma mia, we saw House of Gucci.
I mean, House of Gucci, this is like House of Gucci level accent work because it's like, I'm in, I'm out. What is happening? The movie is confusing straight up because we start with Christopher Plummer working at this antiquities firm that seems like, wow, how are they making money? It is really what I wanted to get into. Like, how is Carfax?
I worked at an antique shop in the Upper East Side for a year.
Okay.
So I do have, there's big money in antiques.
Yeah,
really?
And he says we're turning a profit, aren't we? You know, like, yeah, they're trading in a lot of great stuff.
I mean, what are they trading in? Because Johnny Lee Miller is like bringing him a crossbow, like,
all
and
sorts
it's like
of curiosities, though, Paul.
Yeah,
like
I guess
all
you're
sorts of curiosities.
And if it's not related to Van Helsing's previous work as a monster hunter, then I guess it gets sold at auction.
But the safe, the state-of-the-art safe that he has, the vault is a true catacomb. Like, the building is, yes, it's made out of stone and it's in this, and I don't know what that real building is in London, but it's a beautiful building.
It's cool.
It's a stone
There's
building.
There's a lot of cool visual stuff that is real, inside of this that I enjoyed. Yeah.
But when they open up this safe, they go into an old school medieval Game of Thrones style dungeon where it's like skulls are out, like, and like things are being kept on shelves. And it's like, at this point, Van Helsing could have just cleaned up, upped it, put some nice security in. Like, his security even seems to be antiquated, like just old school spikes.
It's easily beaten. It's easily, I mean, like, there's a Die Hard level Nakatomi Plaza, like, we're in, just like hacking the computer and then it's over. We're like, it's so easy for what is to
Omar
me,
Epps.
Yeah, to me, it seems to me like this group is not like super sophisticated. They seem like they're just trying to come in and rob the place.
They literally have a recreation of Van Helsing's eye, which is like, give me a prequel series.
Was that?
I found them to be pretty sophisticated, so much so that I was like, who is behind this exactly?
I think Omar Epps and
Jennifer Esposito.
Yes.
Because she's the one that's saying there's something, if there's no, you don't have a vault, if they don't know, that's the thing is they don't
here's
know.
What I'm just trying to understand. Jennifer Esposito and Omar Epps are They own a private plane. It seems, a private jet.
Yeah. A prop.
Okay.
Or they get one. Yeah, they're like a thief team. They're like Ocean's 11.
I guess they're like Ocean's 11. I'm just like, what's interesting about them to me is that they already must have so much money as just an organization of criminals. Well, they already must have so much money that they have a private plane, that they've embedded her in this. They got all these people on the payroll to open up a safe where they don't know what's going to be in there.
That's my issue. Jennifer Esposito, if you are a master safe cracker, she's like, my gut tells me they got something good in here. Like, that's it.
You wouldn't mount this whole operation without knowing what you were stealing. You would never go to these lengths on a hunch. You know what I mean? Like,
I should hope
they
not.
have antiquities. They have things they could steal that are worth a lot of money.
Now I kind of want there to be an Ocean's 11 sequel.
Oh, I wrote that down. We need a prequel.
Where what they're stealing is Dracula.
Okay,
where it's like they get everybody around and it's like that snappy music, and then Clooney's like, okay, we know that Dracula is underneath the Wynn Hotel, the hotel and casino in Vegas. We're gonna go in, we're gonna soak it in blood, and we're gonna wake Dracula.
Oh, and by the way, the way that they pronounce Drah-cool-ya, the way Dracula, they are able to run off with what looks like an incredibly heavy coffin so quickly that Van Helsing, when he realizes that his shit's being broken into, doesn't even give chase, but it seems like they're in a sewer tunnel with a giant ass coffin. There was no car. There was nothing like that.
They would have gotten max 100 feet from where they were, you know, before he was like, oh, hey, stop.
I believe it's broad daylight when they get in there.
And they also exit through a hole in the wall. They have no idea where it's going. This was not their
part of the plan.
They're just improvising.
Again, if I were them, I would just take whatever. Honestly, I would sell that private jet and I would put that money in a you know, high yielding kind of IRA or something.
Really?
By the way,
IRA and just
Roth?
live off.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one. You should definitely do a Roth
why
IRA.
Why are we doing this?
This is investment talk with June.
You know, how did this get financed? How did this get invested? I will say this. What I really love about the robbery scene is the constant justifications. Like, they're like, oh, yeah. They'll definitely put skulls up to freak us out.
Yeah, don't you get it? Don't you get it? This is just to scare us away. What?
No! We're in 2000, people. By the way,
it's shocking throughout how much people, and I guess maybe this is just the thing, is like in horror movies, how much people are willing to justify true warning signs as just absolutely normal.
Major red flags.
Omar Epps is doing backflips here to explain why they should be taking a coffin that's ingesting blood.
We're here for money, Marcus.
The skulls are to scare us. The crosses, the coffin, all of it. It's a grand spanking mind fuck to scare off thieves. If you make a killing, why hide it in a safe?
When you can hide it in a coffin.
Does it look like an old wood box to you guys? The Holy Grail, the Golden Fleece, the crown fucking jewels, whatever it is, it's inside. Eddie, Dax, and Shade, you get your gear, and you get this thing open. Oh, I am not touching that fucking coffin. Want to get paid? Get it open!
I mean, that scene to me is like, I don't follow this leader. I don't believe in this. Like, they are delusional. I don't think they are good thieves. I feel like.
Let me ask you this. They seem to think they're robbing, obviously, a wealthy antiquities dealer who has a vault probably full of riches. Okay, got it. Do they know or do they not know that his name is Van Helsing?
Because Dracula does exist here in this world.
They do know.
And if they do know that, is nobody from the Jennifer Esposito, Omar Epps,
That's a great question.
And even Johnny Lee Miller, frankly, even though he's not part of the robbers, he's still in Van Helsing's employ. Nobody is ever like, hey, are you related to Van Helsing? Of the Van Helsing's Van Helsing? Like, it makes nobody
another
speaks
question,
to it.
you know, not to get back to their financial situation, but if I have developed or have the ability to get the technology to copy someone's retina and their handprints.
That's Minority Report level stuff. Like a movie that came out that's like future technology.
That's fine if they know the Hope Diamond's behind there.
Yeah.
But what I cannot wrap my mind around is just they have this. I mean, how much do you think that eyeball cost? That eyeball alone.
The fuel.
I did think it was
fuel for the plane.
Yeah. I did think it was cool. The eyeball, the close up on the eyeball turning into the lock undoing on the vault.
Yeah.
There was some cool visuals in there, and I liked all that stuff. But I agree with you 100%. They must have invested tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into the pre-work for a robbery they did not know what it would yield, frankly.
Okay, here's another thing I just want to put out there about these robbers. It seems like it's quitting time when they pull off their first, because it's like, oh, I'm leaving for the day. Goodbye. Door closes. So let's say it's 5 or 6 o'clock, give or take, in that zone. Oh,
yeah, I guess it's not broad daylight. You're right. It's the end of day. End of business.
End of day. End of business.
And it's London, so it's gloomy and gray.
Exactly.
Always.
So
that's very true. Perfect
here's my
setting
thought.
for,
perfect robbing weather.
Perfect Drac weather. And so here's my thought. They run down that sewer tunnel and they're like, okay, well, here's a manhole cover. And then, so in the middle of early evening, rush hour traffic, they're popping open a manhole cover and then lifting easily a 300 pound, like 200 pound.
I was going to say 500 pounds.
Yeah.
It has a corpse in it, and it is made of the heaviest metal.
It like lead, it feels like. So they're just pushing that up. Again, get me a camera on this team.
A bunch of their guys have been killed. And that's the other thing. They don't react at all. Two of their cohorts have been killed by antique booby traps.
Yes.
Yeah.
These guys are getting full-blown speared with
That was horrible.
And everybody's just like, whoa, okay, come on, we got to get this thing out of here. And they move so quickly past their dead teammates that I was like, what? I feel like the movie's problem is it's not sure who the movie's about. If this movie was smart, it would have been Ocean's 11. It would have been about the robbers and they've got a tip, they've got a lead, they're going to rob this place. And then when they get there, it's Dracula.
Or the movie could have just been about Mary Von Helsing, which I thought was also interesting. I was like, that's sort of a new way into Dracula, like someone who has part Dracula blood.
Yep.
That was fascinating. Or
it could have been about the guy that he hired to make all those contraptions. Like, all right, so I do need a coffin that, the crucifix is going to turn, pop open.
That?
I do need like a lot of leeches. I need a helmet.
I think all that happened like 100 years ago.
Okay. That's old technology.
I think that's
coffin's
all
old school. All right, wow.
Yeah, that
so
coffin,
it's going to be heavier.
And the switch underneath it, and because also the booby traps seemed like they were like rusty spikes from 100 years ago.
But do you think those booby traps, do you think they're tested? Like, when you leave a car at a friend's house and then you ask them to go start it every, once a week so it doesn't, I don't know.
Do you think they do dry runs?
Yeah, just because if those booby traps hadn't been used for hundreds of years, wow.
Well, you're right. And I will say this, and now I'm going to amend what I said. All those booby traps were old, but there is also a modern security system, like a computer-based security system. So at some point, somebody would have had to have installed all that.
You could have gone in there and cleaned up the skulls. I mean, by the way, the
Paul,
carelessness.
you and I just had a conversation, not to talk about, I know I've gotten into a lot of trouble on this podcast with what I've said about locksmiths.
Oh, boy.
But I did want to say, just talking about security systems, because one of the ways they get in to the antiquities firm is one of the robbers says he's part of security and is checking on the security system.
Well, and also they throw a Pokemon ball at one of the things, like whatever technology that is, that Omar Epps throws an exploding ball at that guy's face. Like that seems like it's just a stun thing, but I've never seen
that technology.
Yeah,
sell it
make
to the
a mint.
military and live the rest of your lives in peace, alive.
But they don't want that. They love the
What
juice
could have
of
been in there?
the
They
heist.
should never have been in there. Anyway,
But
what I was
what
going
could
to say
have been
though,
in
is, Paul,
there?
you and I just went over last night something that I had completely forgotten, which is a gentleman who installed our security system. This is way back when at an old apartment of ours. Was incredibly creepy. Incredibly creepy.
We did go over that, Jason.
We
Just
did.
So you know,
we turned
we
it
went
over,
that.
and I was like, God, you got.
Wait, you just did, or at the time?
We just did.
No, last night.
No,
Oh.
it was like we'd never talked about it. This event that happened, where this man said something so fucking strange to me while we were both in the house, and we were walking around showing him like where we needed to protect ourselves, and he was like straight up serial killer, straight up.
Wow.
Okay. And then we proceeded to pay him to install all of our alarms. But I
mean, once they're in your house, you got
It was
to
like he
got to
already
roll the
knew
dice.
It's not
everything,
an
and I
oral
remember him
contract. You can go to someone else.
Well, he's already in. We already invited the vampire in.
we let the wrong one in.
That's the cold open to one of these movies. That's like, okay, you know, he says something creepy, and then you're like, we're still gonna use you, and then
Yeah, and I just feel like a consumer of security systems, you have no recourse with this, you know, with like the people who are installing. It's like, I have to assume at some point I have to take a leap of faith here.
cut to Jerry Orbach walking around surveying your bodies, being like, I don't know what happened, and the rest of the Law and Order episode happens.
We've already poked holes in the idea that thieves shouldn't go off of a gut check of wealth. But their plan then is, let's take this giant ass coffin that we can't figure out how to open to the Cayman Islands, which is off the coast of Cuba, near Jamaica. They're coming from the UK, and they land in a swamp in New Orleans, which, if you try to put all of that together, it seemingly makes no
remember,
sense.
Dracula ties the pilot to his chair and I believe makes him take him to New Orleans.
And the only reason why he wants to go to New Orleans is because he feels...
He can sense the blood of Mary is Van Helsing's daughter, who passed some of Dracula's blood on to Mary. Christopher Plummer is Mary's father. He has Dracula's blood.
Right.
So now Dracula can sense, I believe, this is the movie's logic, can sense Mary's presence in the world and
because
has been dreaming about her.
Right, they see each other.
They see each other like in dreams,
like
waking
Kylo
life,
Ren.
like Rey and Kylo Ren.
Yes.
I wrote that.
I didn't even
I
put
was
that
like,
together.
whoa.
Are you saying, okay, so here's what I just didn't like quite pick up on. Before he's awakened by the robbers, Dracula, does she have any sense of him or no?
She's dreaming about him.
Before he wakes up?
Yes.
Because
her whole life. She says, yeah.
Because like her roommate's like, you're yelling again.
Okay.
But it's getting
Okay.
worse.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's
Vitamin
getting
C.
worse, maybe?
Yes.
Wait, who is vitamin C? You keep saying that.
Vitamin C is Lucy Westerman.
But I mean, I'm sorry, who is vitamin C?
Sorry. Good question. So vitamin C was like, and I don't want to use this term derogatorily, but a one-hit wonder, like had a very popular song. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was Graduation. Here, you can take a listen to that.
This is how it feels. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
And so who was Vitamin C in the movie?
Lucy
roommate.
Westerman, the roommate.
The roommate.
Who works at Virgin Megastore and is in front of her own rack of CDs.
So she,
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's
Yes.
Okay, so she created that graduation song?
Yes. Was singer of
She's
it.
singing in it?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, her name was Vitamin C, and she was the singer, and she had.
As we go on. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, she released a lot of albums. I mean, there's a lot of tracks, I should say.
Huh. I thought she was really.
Forever,
I thought she was great.
I thought she was
graduate.
great.
I didn't know.
And I gotta say, I'm gonna say, I think I've said this before. I absolutely love Jennifer Esposito.
I wrote it
Terrific.
down. MVP in these
love
movies,
her.
but she
She is in so many of our terrible, terrible movies and is so good at them.
Always so fucking good.
What is so good about her too is like I feel like she gets it. Like she gets the
Always.
movie that she's in. And there's a moment where she, at the end of the movie, where she has a crossbow and she literally takes like a pose with it, like a chick, and like a sexy, like a now I'm going to kill you pose. But she like can revel in all those moments and play awesome all around. Like I feel like she's
having
tones.
fun. She gets what's happening. She gets what movie she's in.
And the scariest vampire to me.
A bunch of people do in this movie. I'm not, but I think she's doing Vitamin C too. They're and Jerry Ryan, right? Is
Jerry
Ryan.
Jerry
Ryan's great.
Yeah.
The
Jerry
scene
Ryan
where
is
Jerry Ryan gets killed is just so good. I mean, she's just perfect.
Jerry Ryan does say one thing that I took some offense to, which is when she's attacking Johnny Lee Miller, she goes, "You ever want to do it with a TV star?" And I was like, "Well, you're not really a TV star. You're a local news reporter. I mean, like, let's not elevate your position."
Commentary? You don't think that was commentary on her role as a TV star? You don't think that was a meta joke?
Oh, I think this is before that, maybe, but maybe I'm wrong. I think Voyager is after this. But
all right.
But I'll say this. Can we just listen to her do her news report?
I'm here in a swamp of death tonight for 5 doomed souls destined for points unknown. We have shocking footage of the presumed pilot. Sensitive viewers may want to turn away. He was bizarrely lashed to the yoke with radio cable and bound in twisted pipe. The remaining 4 victims, as well as an antique silver coffin, were removed to nearby Clark, where a tiny town hall has been transformed into a morgue tonight.
That is like some of the most unprofessional reporting. Like she's like swamp of death, flight of death. And she's like, and the way that she describes 5 bodies, like it overcrowded the morgue. Really? 5 bodies? You got to take it to a town hall? Like this is New Orleans. I imagine people are dying. Like what?
We just saw Lance Henriksen and Jean-Claude Van Damme rack up quite a lot of bodies.
No one's filling up a county courthouse. By the way, I wanted them to bump into Lance Henriksen when they ran through that cemetery. It's like, perfect crossover here.
What they needed was one of those rifles that shoots arrows. So that they could shoot wooden stakes out of a rifle. That would have been amazing.
Gosh.
So let me just ask, okay, not to jump to the end, but Mary Van Helsing is part human, part vampire. So
because her dad.
Right, because her dad had the blood in him.
Right, but
from the spear that went through Dracula and then into
So
Van
Christopher
Helsing.
Plummer, I mean, I like that capturing. Again, who's the man who invents these traps? That trap was pretty amazing. It was like he's walking down an alley, but it was all mirrors. Then behind all the mirrors are guys with like, pointy sticks and, I guess they're stakes, but they're not. Like that, like the contraptions are great. But yeah, so I guess Van Helsing at one point was like, I captured Dracula. Now it's time for me to go get laid, have a life. And he does, but then disowns this daughter?
Was this a cut scene that you saw? Now I need to go get laid?
Disowns his daughter. It's that his wife finds out and she leaves him.
Okay. But why is his wife worried?
Probably because Dracula's in the basement.
Her husband's a vampire? Yeah, I mean,
no, I don't think Christopher Plummer's a vampire. I think he's
well, what is he?
He looks young.
Well,
for his age.
But I think that's because he's injecting
Immortal.
himself with Dracula's blood. He's taking the leeches that have been on.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. Okay, so I thought the leeches were sucking out his blood to make him not full vampire.
That's what I thought too.
I thought he was using the leeches to suck vampires' blood out of Dracula.
All right, because then he's
because Dracula's covered with leeches. Then he's taking those leeches, sucking out the blood in a syringe, putting it into his body to give him long life.
Okay, so then your theory would, going back to what June said earlier, is that he's down in that coffin quite a lot.
Yeah,
if he's getting the leeches off the body, like.
I don't know, how often do you refill a prescription?
Well, I mean, it looks like he had like 4 containers of leeches underneath that chest set.
He's got to call Rite Aid and be like, I need another month of leeches.
Your leeches are in. Please come to pick up your leeches.
Dial 04
I'm
pharmacy.
Still confused about how he's able to take so much of that blood
Because I think he would be
vaccines
immortal.
Work like you take enough that he's able to live forever, but he doesn't actually become a vampire.
Oh, I think what it is this. He shared blood with Drah-cool-ya. He shared blood with him, but his daughter is of the blood, the true mix. Like, it's almost like somebody put a little bit of blood in his blood, but then when he passed his blood to her, she is made of that blood. So
I think they're getting benefits, but and maybe this is, people are probably screaming at their radios because we're getting...
They're like, why am I listening to a podcast on my radio?
Yeah, exactly. They're getting their Dracula. We're getting Dracula lore mixed up because I don't know if it makes you a vampire if you just get some of Dracula's blood inside you. Don't you have to be bitten?
Yeah, of course. But that's what he's saying. She's been born.
Van Helsing is never bitten.
She was born.
No, Van Helsing was never bitten either. No,
but the woman was, but Mary Van Helsing was bitten by Dracula.
Later in the movie.
And then that's what makes her part Drac, part Helsing. This is our second Van Helsing movie.
He says before the reason why he's looking for her is because she's the only one like him who was not bitten but born vampire.
Well, no, but he was born as Judas. Surprise.
Yeah, he was born as Judas Iscariot, and is somehow, upon betraying Christ and hanging himself, he is reborn as an
Can
immortal...
I ask a question about this? Yeah, because
I don't. Yeah.
Okay, so the idea being, in my remembrance of Catholic school and going to church and all this sort of stuff, and June, I know that you have a similar background of church, so let's see if we can put it together. My thought was that Judas betrays Jesus, feels so guilty about it that he kills himself. In this movie, it posits, and then he's like, fuck that, now I hate this guy. Like it takes away the remorse element of Judas. Right? So Judas is wanting forgiveness. He feels so badly that's why he commits suicide. But then he comes back on like, oh, I hate the Bible and I hate gold because it reminds me of Jesus who betrayed me. It feels like it's almost like Jesus did this.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that Jesus did this. I think that he is he is reborn to live in misery. He's now suffering,
like
and he blames God and obviously Christ for his eons of suffering. Basically.
So basically, Jesus was so in the movie, guys. What I'm saying is is the movie positing that God is watching over this and is like, you fucked over my son for 20 pieces of silver. So you know what? You're going to become a motherfucking vampire. It's like a vengeful God.
Well, I remember at the beginning of the movie, Johnny Lee Miller comes in and he says,
oh yeah, he reads that thing. Yeah,
he reads a thing that says, the crown, blah, 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 falling off the blah, blah, blah. And Christopher Plummer corrects him and says, actually, it's Halo. And I think what we're meant to believe maybe is that this is a little bit of a fallen angel story.
Which, by the way, to my understanding, and I'm sure so many people are screaming at their radios.
I mean, some people are looking at their phonograph player and they're going like, oh.
They've tuned us in on AM on 1010 Winds where we simulcast.
If we can look at our audience right now, their heads are all cocking like that dog, going like, where is that sound coming out of that megaphone on the top of that phonograph? Yeah.
I know you're listening to us on a wax cylinder.
That's the shirt.
I know.
How did this get made? Victrola symbol.
As far as I know, for all the families gathered around the radio right now, as far as I know, this is a brand new kind of take on how Dracula became Dracula.
Yes.
Seems like it, yeah. Because in the past,
right? Okay, so thank you.
Past
so
we've understood him
as a warrior.
In the past, I believe he has been Vlad the Impaler.
Yes.
That's who we understand to be modern day Dracula is.
Yeah.
So look,
but
in Bram Stoker, in Bram Stoker's novel.
In Bam Margera's novel.
What happens is Johnny Knoxville kicks him so hard in the balls that he grows vampire teeth.
Hey, it's me, Bam Stoker.
But basically,
I'm getting kicked in the balls by Dracula.
Wow, now. So in the novel, he used black magic to turn himself into a vampire. But he did it out of eternal love for his bride, who he'd meet again when she was reincarnated.
I see.
So that, yeah. But then, So I don't know.
So inside of the Dracula narrative, reincarnation exists. That's interesting as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of...
But this movie is the first time I've ever experienced the idea that Dracula is Judas.
Yes.
Who is
Me
meant
too.
to, I guess, live for all eternity in regret for the actions he
But he
did by
seems
killing
thrilled.
God's son.
It seems like if you come back as Dracula and you're just like, can control everything, you can make mist, do what you want, every like person that you're attracted to is like under your command. Like it seems
You
like
can
he's
turn
living
into a wolf. You can turn into bats. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
You're
great
sexy
life, you guys.
AF.
It's a great life. And it's also like very fluid sexually,
Yes.
Women, men biting men, women biting women. It's all, it's all happening.
Are you?
great.
I'm curious. Are you guys vampire? Like, did you read the Anne Rice books? Were you like or any of the kind of? Because vampires have had multiple, just in our lifetimes, multiple periods of incredible popularity. Including Twilight and the rest.
Vampire movie I've ever seen is Leslie Nielsen's Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Of course.
And that, that is really where I began and end. And nothing really tops it there as far as scary, fun, spooky, sexy.
I mean, yeah, I did enjoy the Twilight movie.
We did it on the show. I like them.
Oh, yeah, right. I was like, when did we watch them? Oh, yeah,
Apparently,
for the show. I enjoyed
the
them quite a
Interview
bit.
with a Vampire series that's happening right now is pretty good.
That's supposed to be incredible. I can't wait to see
so
it.
I don't know, and I'm not a vampire or really
not
a
a
horror
vampire?
fan. I'm not a vampire. I was going to say a vampire fan, but I've heard from multiple people that show is
Here's where I
great.
was disappointed. I'm interested in the world and some of the themes, et cetera, I think are super interesting. And the women, the sexuality, all of that. I'm like, yeah, the men, the sort of homosexuality piece of it. I think it's a really cool world. I was so bummed that the teeth looked the way they did because I'm
And
like,
made people sound bad.
it made
Well,
people sound bad,
yeah.
but it's also just like, okay, like this is, I honestly feel like if I went to the Halloween store right now, I could find something that was better and more visually interesting than what they were wearing in this.
As teeth, yeah,
in this
right?
film. Yeah, it's like
I
those little
agree.
flippers. They were ridiculous.
They were ridiculous, and because they were
Ridiculous.
practical, they looked out of place. They looked like they were filling people's mouths.
they were
Their
too white.
speech was all
But it's also like, did vampires evolve? Because in the cave or safe, whatever you want to call it, safe tomb, whatever it is, they find some skulls, which Omar Epps immediately destroys, which is just a gross, just a terrible way to just treat a dead body. But all the vampire teeth were the front two teeth, almost like Bugs Bunny. Like
They had different teeth.
Right,
There were different ones in different places because of the
they all had different ones?
species.
Okay.
There's different species
Yeah.
of vampires. I do know that from comics, you know.
Okay.
Some are like the Nosferatu, which
Got
Christopher
it.
Plummer says, which is the front two. Some are like the fangs, traditional, like spread, whatever, the canines or whatever these are.
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, and those, by the way, vampire skulls, you know how how valuable those would be? Come
Honestly,
on.
run in there,
That's
take
the
those
treasure.
and run. And
That's the treasure, yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I kind of found these teeth to be, besides the fact that I'm pretty positive Gerard Butler isn't completely dubbed the entire film, because clearly whatever they got with those teeth in was not working or being sexy. Like, I feel like it really was crowding his mouth. I found them to be
That's a t-shirt, crowded mouth.
crowded mouth. But the idea of, like, I don't know, they felt really sharp and like they felt like they were doing the job right. It felt like the teeth were there for the right reasons, not for show. But maybe you're wrong. Maybe you guys think, I mean, you guys don't like these teeth. I thought the teeth looked actually very like razor-like, ooh, that would really cut into me. I felt like there was a lot of like slight, I don't know. I don't know. I felt that.
I felt like, boy, I would have liked it if the teeth were, and maybe this goes against the kind of inherent sexiness of the movie, or however you want to look at it. But I felt like, to June's point, like kind of too white and too big. And I was like, oh, there's something that would make it scarier to me if his teeth were like sharp and yellow and looked like.
Oh yeah, they're not yellow. They're like crest
evil.
white strips. Yeah, they.
You know, like and I get it. By sucking the blood out of the bad guys on the plane, he he goes from a withered husk of a man into youthful Gerard Butler. So I understand the reasoning, but it's just not as scary. But he remains then super sexy, which I think is what the movie wants.
And by the way,
because everywhere he goes, everybody's like, oh my God, look at this hunk.
But that's Dracula's mind trickery. Like that's
not
what
always.
Not really?
Always. I don't think he tricks Lucy in the Virgin Megastore.
Oh, I think it's like he's exuding this like.
You think he's what is it called? Glamoring? I think
that he sort of put her under his spell.
Under a spell.
I think anyone who comes in contact, I think he's almost exuding it like a bug zapper or like something like it's just out like he can't.
She seems like pretty with
like
it,
a bug zapper.
Like there's some
he's
energy.
Exuding it like a bug zapper.
You know what? Like a citronella candle. That's what I would say. A citronella candle is a better
He's
idea.
exuding sexuality like a bug zapper. Man,
Like,
you ever
because
look at a
you know what
bug
it is?
zapper and you're like, that's so hot.
Well, if I'm a mosquito, I do. Because I'm like, I got to get in there. I got to get in
there.
Jennifer Esposito.
Get me in there.
You're actually right, Paul. It is like a bug zapper. It draws you in. It draws you in and you get zapped.
That's it. The other thing about it, though, too, was like, so did you understand what happened? And maybe this is a moment where, Paul, you're not paying enough attention, but where our hero, Mary, goes to bite Johnny Lee Miller, and then like she's tricking him, right, to get the upper hand. But then when they do the flashback, okay, she's tricking him here. But then when they do the flashback to the scene that just happened 2 seconds before, I'm like, where did the blood come from? She bit her own lip?
She bit her own lip.
Yeah.
You see her do one of these.
Okay.
With her new fang. She bites her own lip.
But then, wouldn't her lip be bleeding profusely at that point too? Like,
well, I think there is blood on her.
Got it.
There's blood on her and on him because that's why it looks like she did do it.
Okay. It's a messy way to be, but I get it now. I get it.
What I couldn't understand, actually, and you might say, June, you weren't paying enough attention, but I feel like a lot of the movie, we are instructed over and over, and the rules are laid out on how these vampires can be killed. And we also know that Dracula cannot be killed. But the way that she kills him, was that set up so he can be killed? He's pretty much hanging by the cross.
In the sun.
Is that what it was?
Well,
I think he lights on fire because the sun comes up and starts hitting him.
Well, but
so he's not killed by the wire she put around him when she jumps off. Okay.
No. I think it's twofold, because if it's just sunlight, then Christopher Plummer's a complete fucking idiot. Like, just put him in sunlight, right? Like, I think it had to do with...
You created all that stuff in that room. Put a fucking sunroof in there.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea was he needed to be hung again, because in this movie, the cord snapped.
That's what I think is right.
Right?
Yeah.
So he was saved. Now Jesus on that neon cross is holding him. Because she did say we take the body back. She took the body back. The last scene of the movie.
The ashes, right?
How did she collect the ashes? I mean, that was on a high up building, and she's going around.
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
New Orleans,
but does the end of the movie? Doesn't the end of the movie suggest that he's kind of back?
A little bit.
She's back because she's seeing him.
Back.
She's seeing him trapped in the coffin, always.
Okay. So I think the movie would have you believe he isn't dead. He can't be killed. He will somehow reconstitute in a sequel?
Well, yes. Well, there were 2 direct-to-DVD sequels.
What?
Oh, yeah. There were 2. It was, let's see.
Is one of them
right
called
here.
Never Fuck with an Antiques Dealer 2?
And I was like, Dracula 2000 was followed by 2 direct-to-video sequels, Ascension in 2003 and Legacy in 2005. Same team co-wrote all 3 films and created a plot to a 4th film and discussed releasing it theatrically, but no film has been produced. Now, I say that because I also want to say that the people that are responsible for this film are Patrick Lussier and Joel Swanson. Now, the movie is called Wes Craven Presents Dracula 2000. Does not seem that Wes Craven is involved in this in any way.
Oh,
in any
wow.
way. This was a Dimensions film, a Weinstein Brothers production, and this is the thing that I love about this. Clearly, they made Scream, so they have a relationship with Wes Craven, and I'm sure they gave him a shitload of money to say, pop your name on this, just to give us something, because this is Scott Derrickson, who just did Black Phone.
Didn't he do Doctor Strange? The first
did the
Doctor
first
Strange?
one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he said that he got a call, and they're like, "Hey, I just bought this script called Dracula 2000." And he goes, "Oh yeah, is it good?" And he goes, and Weinstein replies, "No, it stinks." And he goes, "Well, why did you buy it?" And he goes, "Because it's called Dracula 2000."
Wow.
And that was the
and then Scott Derrickson said, "I'm in."
That was and so he wrote it.
Wow.
Then Aaron Kruger rewrote it, and then these guys came on and then they took it home. So I mean, it's just interesting that they just liked 2000.
The title, yeah.
Like that title isn't even worth that much. But here's what I'll say about the ending. So I guess what they're saying is he asks for forgiveness to God. So that is, I think, how he could get killed. If he asks for forgiveness, then he can be destroyed.
Why does he do it in this moment, I wonder? Because nothing happened at the end of the movie that made me feel as though I was watching Judas reckon with the now thousands of years of what he's done and feel as though he needs to make things right with God.
Well, as Molly was saying in the chat, like, so Judas betrays Jesus for silver. But like, we don't ever get the sense that Dracula in this version is greedy or wrestling with like the greed that Judas wrestled with. So these things are so disconnected.
Yeah, it felt to me like, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we made him Judas instead of it being the traditional kind of Vlad the Impaler? What if we went all the way back and made him, when they cut to the Last Supper, I was like, what?
Oh, and they're cutting to the Last Supper the way that you would do it
the Last Supper.
The way that you would do it at a high school play. Like when he is hanging on that tree, it's like red lights, lone tree. It was and like he's staring at Jesus up on the cross. It is a wild.
Oh, it's nonsense.
When I realized he's Judas, it was really quite a moment, you guys.
Well, I mean,
quite a moment.
Judas Iscariot. The cross. The silver. All the things you came to despise.
It was my destiny to betray you. Because you needed me. Now, I drink the blood of your children. But I give them more than just eternal life. I give them what they crave most. All the pleasure you would deny them. Forever.
That wasn't, and just to see Gerard Butler in that time, I mean, that's where I was like, this movie is going for it, but do we need any of this? Do we need?
They quote it, and Molly just put it in the chat as well. But the line that they quote is "blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh," which is the what you say on when you're eating and drinking.
Communion wafers.
Exactly. When you're getting communion, when you're receiving communion.
Yes, but the idea is not that Jesus actually made them drink his blood. It's that he turned.
This is like actually a part of where the church splits. Is people who believe that they were drinking something that was the actual blood and body and eating the body of Christ, and something that just was a stand-in for.
I know where I fall.
Yeah, it's all blood, baby.
Gotta get that blood.
Give me that.
Get that blood.
Give me that. Drink. Give me that Savior's blood.
My God. By the way, what did you think the conversation was like? Virgin Megastore, we got a great tie-in here.
Because that actually, more than anything about this time period, it was actually so great to see it because I was like, oh man, it was a return. To see the space and layout of it, I was like, whoa. I
remember like the Union Square.
Yes.
There was a Virgin in Union Square that you could...
and you could go in there and listen to CDs because you could put on the headphones and play the album, just sit there. And I was like, I remember waiting for the Strokes.
So much time. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was just, it was
Do you think that they chose the Virgin Megastore because it suggested virginity and that is like, that's a big thing in vampire kind of lore?
You know what? I'm going to say that I think you're right because this movie is full of like hidden Easter eggs. Like the name of Van Helsing's antique business is Carfax Abbey, which is the name of the house that Dracula moves into.
Wait, in Carfax? Carfax.
Carfax.com.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that a Marcus Lemonis company?
I don't think Carfax is.
Oh, it's one of the other ones?
But maybe it's like, but Carfax, like, if you bring us a antique, antique era, we'll tell you how much it costs.
All of Marcus Lemonis' companies. They should all really advertise on this podcast.
By the way, he's asked to be on the show, and we'd love to have him on the show. We just haven't figured it out.
Sweet treats, all of it.
The metal letters hanging on the wall at the top of Mary's house are LRUCE, which, if you rearrange them, spell cruel.
Oh,
okay,
and when Dr. Seward says the line, "I never drink coffee," there's a lot of Easter eggs here in this movie, like about like going back to the roots of the original story. So that there's a lot to unpack. But I do think that like this movie feels like everyone was like, "This is cool," like so much so that the title Dracula 2000, they were racing to get it out because they needed to come out in 2000. And like, they started too late. They started in the summer. So they only had a couple of months to get the whole thing done. So like, but this movie, oddly, even though it's called Dracula 2000, Virgin Megastore is the only detail that really lines it up with, oh, this is an older movie. Everything else is
in time.
Yeah. Nothing else in it is dated.
There's no other product placement. There's no other, but Virgin is, the word Virgin is constantly appearing because they're wearing t-shirts that say Virgin. They're like, it's very prominent in that regard.
Yeah. She literally sleeps in her work shirt as a pajama shirt. It's not like she fell asleep in her work shirt. She's like, well, it's so comfortable at work, I'll wear it at home. And then the Virgin, Richard Branson's like, I love that. I love that kind. It's surprising that Richard Branson didn't have like a bug zapper off with Dracula. Like they both get there and like, oh, you're sexy. Well, you're sexy. And they high five and Branson walks out.
What's kind of crazy in this whole movie is that like, even though the movie takes, the second half of the movie takes place in incredibly crowded Mardi Gras, New Orleans, the first half in London, and yet, and the murders they're racking up so many murders throughout. There is no law enforcement presence.
That's the same thing we saw in Hard Target.
Well,
New Orleans doesn't care about those dead bodies.
Jason, most of those people do end up becoming vampires.
That's true. That's true.
So,
but I'm just thinking about the local cops and stuff. Like,
where are the police who are like, where are all the bodies that we put in that place?
That's true. Well, the morgue is so full.
The morgue is full of bodies. These cops have, we saw it happen in Hard Target. There's a lot of, they're on strike again. The cops are on strike, I think. The same strike. It ties
It's the same strike. Also, nobody's reporting on the fact that local news superstar Jerry Ryan has gone missing.
And what happened
that
her cameraman?
He got chomped.
She's still doing news. That's the thing. She's still showing up to her shifts.
It would be amazing if she was broadcasting. If she did a standing piece on the street as a vampire, that would have been amazing.
Well, by the way, if I said I was upset when she said a TV star, and Jason, you actually were right. Voyager ended in 2001, so she was a TV star. But I do think she was like, breaking news, you're dead. Like that would have been great. I would have liked something like that. Let's play it to the character. Well, clearly we had opinions about this movie, but there are people out there that had different opinions. Now time for second opinions.
Don't stop reviewing. How did this get made? Second opinion. 5 stars.
These are 5-star reviews pulled from Amazon. 62% of reviews are 5 stars. 62%.
Really?
Yes.
Listen, yeah.
Well, what are you going to say, Jen?
Well, no, I was going to say, like, I did find this movie to be very watchable. I think a large part of that was because of Jennifer Esposito and just like wanting to watch her on screen. And also, like, I just think it's watchable. It's not very good, but I thought it went down pretty smoothly.
I feel like people, and maybe this is just because of the world, I think people are a lot more forgiving of horror movies.
Yes.
In terms of like,
so.
maybe the plot doesn't add up or whatever, but it
Very
was
much
fun
so.
or scary or thrilling, or it had the, whatever people want from these movies, that I think if they get it a little bit, they're like, great, I loved it.
But this is my issue with this movie on a base level. I think the performances are good. I think there's some really fun ideas in here, but it's not scary. It's like the new Minions movie, Rise of Gru. Like the other Minions movies are funny. This one is like,
this is like the Minions. This is a comparison I was not expecting.
I mean, I'm
We've
bug
only
zapping
seen
and
it
Minions.
about maybe a million times.
I guess I like it feels adjacent to like the Minions Rise of Gru feels like, oh yeah, this is like it's not even trying to, it's like, oh yeah, that's a comedy.
Now I just feel like you're promoting the movie.
Well, you have to
Minions Rise of
understand,
Gru?
Jason. So Minions Rise of Gru is on our
so much we watch
in our
it.
car, on our Chrysler Pacific minivan.
Yes.
Pacific minivan. And, the kids are watching it almost every time we get in the car. So from here on out, everything is going to be in relation to Minions Rise of Gru. Like it's either like Minions Rise of Gru or not like Minions Rise of Gru, but it will
what I find about Minions,
it's our North Star now.
What I find about Minions Rise of Gru
it's the Rosetta Stone.
Yes.
It truly is. It's the way to kill vampires is through showing the Minions Rise of Gru. But the thing that I think about when I listen to that movie every day is it's not bad, but it's not funny. It's kind of has a plot, but nothing that I really care about. And what's the story? Not much. And it's like, that's what this movie is. Like, there's no real scares. It's like no jump scares. The horror
I had
isn't
a couple jump scares when he first popped out.
A couple.
The
And they're
leech in the face?
They're not. It's
Did not
really,
like
and
that
it's
leech.
not a. It's not scary. It's more. Maybe it's more of a. I guess it's a monstery, thrillery movie.
No,
than
I think
it
it's
is.
a horror movie, but it's like,
I guess
it's light.
Sort of.
It's
Yeah,
light.
it is light.
It's light.
To me, the thing that I was most intrigued by, and June, you didn't even get to really experience it the way I did, which is like going, is that Gerard Butler? How is that Gerard Butler? Let me
That
look
was
at
the
this.
spookiest part. Talk about spooky season. I was like, I every time I came close to thinking it was Gerard Butler, I was then confident it wasn't.
It was like he was edging us the entire movie.
It really was. It was a crazy experience.
All right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's tough. But I will say it is very slick. To June's
Yes.
point of it going down smooth,
Yes.
it's very slick, and it's not like, they shot clearly during Mardi Gras. Like there's a ton of like visual stimuli in the movie that is
Absolutely.
pretty good. Like it's well done in that regard. But it's like I couldn't make heads or tails of who am I rooting for? Whose story is this? When are we getting closer or further from the goal of any protagonist? And I didn't know. There's a couple of very blunt exposition dumps that come very late in the movie. So even then, you're like, you spend the first 50 minutes of the movie being like, who is everybody and what is their relationship?
I also love the idea that from their apartment, from Mary's apartment, like the idea that if you live in New Orleans, you automatically have Mardi Gras masks up.
Oh, yeah.
Like she had several in that bedroom.
Well, you never know when it's going to happen. You got to come run down. It's like an umbrella. If you live in London, you need it by the door.
Everybody who actually lives in New Orleans seems to just like detest Mardi Gras.
Oh, yeah. To be like, we got to get out of
practice it
town.
in a totally different way than like what tourists do there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not there just to get fucked up. The thing I think about this movie, to your point about it being slick, is I like a movie like this where I watched it. I was like, oh, this is fun. And it's, and they've got some weird stuff, but I enjoyed it. And then when you leave, it all falls apart. That to me is a trick that I'm like, oh yeah, this doesn't really make sense if you think about it. But good editing, and this director was a former editor, edited all the Scream movies, the first 3. Like, I think that there is a pacing to it. It's like, don't worry about it. Let's go. And it's enough that
you're right.
It's like,
you're right. They don't let you, nothing sticks, or no scenes linger too long.
No.
Nothing sticks around long enough for you to start to poke holes in it. They're just like, on to the next visual overwhelming visual stimuli onto the next, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And
I'm just sort of like trying to figure out the Judas piece. And then all of a sudden he's like hanging off of a crucifix.
I mean,
I loved the part where Johnny Lee Miller and Mary Van Helsing find themselves in is it a church library? Where are they? And then he's got a giant Bible that he tries to threaten Dracula with. And then he uses the Bible like a gun where he opens it wide and it shoots pages out.
Like a fire bullets. It's like what?
Yeah.
Like the Bible.
The pages of the Bible are bullets of fire to Dracula. I was like, well, how does keep in mind, Johnny Lee Miller, he starts as the assistant antiquities dealer, the antiquities buyer.
Yeah.
He's not a Van Helsing. He's not a monster hunter. He's not a monster guy. Maybe the movie should be from his point of view. What the fuck is this world I just stumbled into? But it's not.
He literally goes from, hey, this is a world with vampires and shit's going down to like killing immediately. And then being like, now I'm just on this tear. Now I'm like, now I'm a fucking full-on assassin. He doesn't seem to have any background of killing or anything. He also gets
beat up savagely, repeatedly, and never has a mark on him, never has a limp. Very strong Dracula, Gerard Butler, Omar Epps, once he's a vampire, multiple vampires with full strength toss him around like a rag doll, and he is fine.
And I mean, look, they toss Christopher Plummer around too. I mean, and he gets up a couple times because I guess maybe he's running out. But you see, why is he running out of Dracula blood? Because he just shot himself up that night. He seems like he got on a plane the next day, and he's like automatically super old.
I don't know how much he has to. I don't know what his habit is.
Okay. That's smart. Okay, well, we'll check.
I don't know what his dosage is. I don't know.
Right, maybe,
I don't know what the doctor recommended.
Which then goes down to the fact that he's down in there getting those leeches off him a lot. All right, so these are 5-star reviews. There's not many great ones, but they were kind of picked out here, and I will read you this one from Rick. I forgot how awesome this movie was. It's a new take on Dracula. I only wish it wasn't called Dracula because I enjoyed the humor, action, and characters. 5 stars. So your slam is you don't like that. You like the Dracula movie, but don't like that it's called Dracula. Because, okay. All right. Mardi Gras party time. I don't know what it should be called. Like uninvited guest. Like, I don't know.
Ooh, uninvited guest. I like that.
I like that.
Although they did maintain the idea that he needed to be invited in to Vitamin C's house.
Oh, right. They did have that. Okay, that's good. I forgot about that. And then this one is from Rachel. She writes, I'm taking a college English class on Dracula, and we had to watch this for class. This is my favorite depiction of Dracula that I've seen so far. Really interesting movie to watch, especially if you've read the book. 5 stars. Read Bram Stoker's novel for the first time for a better experience. So this person's saying this is the most accurate representation of Dracula.
This is hashtag this person's Dracula.
And then Susie Herring writes, I like this movie too. A good vampire movie to watch because many of us wanted to be a vampire or dress like a vampire on Halloween. But I love vampires a lot. 5 stars. Title, Vampire Bite. And then this is the one I
love the admission of like many of us wanted to be a vampire. Like like people seeking out all the vampire movies just because they so badly want to be a vampire.
They just need it. And this one right here was one that I thought was really special. It should have been a 5-star review, but something went terribly wrong from Cyberghost 13. This is a great movie, but I only rate it 1 star. Because it's not in the original aspect ratio. 1 star.
How do they know that?
So that whatever transfer or whatever version they watched?
Yep. And then this is a true 1-star review, which from Arlene, the title of the review is Should Never Have Ordered This, written on January 2nd, 2021. I am a born-again Christian.
Oh boy.
Not an appropriate movie. Period. 1 star.
That's it? I like what led to this person renting and what? And
I'm also just like,
don't watch it.
It's called Dracula. Look, the other guy's issue of it being called Dracula 2000 would maybe like as a born again Christian, you might, I guess because of the Judas Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the Judas tie-in.
Maybe they were okay watching a Dracula movie, but because it became
a Judas,
blasphemous.
Yeah.
Maybe because of that it turned into a blasphemous story.
Judas was too sexy. I know we've already kind of talked about it, but would we recommend this movie? Would you recommend this movie? Or did the Discord do a good job at picking us a good movie?
I don't think so, Discord. I think you blew it. Not that it was totally fine, but
right.
I think if it's up to you, the Discord, and you have the kind of power to make us watch literally anything, especially inside of this, the spookiest of seasons, this is, I would say, pretty benign in terms of it's fine. It's got some of our favorites in it, which I love.
Love that.
But was I like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this? Not exactly. It was just kind of like, it was good, so it was fine. Some stuff, but nothing. I don't know. I think
I'm not racing to watch
Discord.
it.
Raise your game, Discord.
Yeah,
Come
Discord,
on.
do better. I was fine actually watching this movie, and I thought this was a fine choice for us. But now that I know that this movie was nominated by the Discord community, I'm like, oh, I'm a little disappointed in retrospect.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best you got?
Is this the best you got? Wow, that is a direct challenge from June to the Discord.
I mean, you guys are our Discord is amazing.
Cut to next October, and we're watching all of the Human Centipede.
I think that was on the list, as a matter of fact.
I'll never do it.
Look, I think Discord understands that we love Gerard Butler.
Yes,
and I think
him.
that
and Jennifer Esposito.
Yes,
like, this is got,
they delivered a package to us that that makes sense. It checks all the boxes. But again,
I feel like the Discord is pandering to us.
Oh, wow.
By giving us Gerard Butler.
Well, I will
saying,
tell you,
like, don't try to figure out our algorithm, Discord.
Yeah, don't try. You know what, Discord? Have an identity of your own.
Yeah, and it's like you can't like put an equation together and try to come up with the answer to what we're gonna like.
Wow, because
I don't want to log on to YouTube to look at the Discord and figure out what they're saying.
I mean, look,
is that how Discord works?
I mean, you kind of. What? I mean, and I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much that the one that came in second place was a movie that Avril had shot down, and I felt, if that movie wins, if the second place movie wins, I'm going to have to do it to respect the Discord, but I would have to go against Avril and her. And I got to say, she's got good instincts. It never leads us astray. As much as Detroit would like to tell us that she is by picking Oogly Loves. But there we go. And by the way,
wait, what was the second place movie?
I believe it was called Phantom of the Paradise, which I always think is, which is a movie that we actually have some connection to. It's a 1974 film, and it's a rock musical comedy directed by Brian De Palma, which Avril said the problem with it
that movie is
it's too in on its own joke. But anyway, all that being said, head to our Discord, get in there, mix it up, change the algorithm on us. And if you want, make sure you check us out on tour. We're going to be all around you. Go to HDTGM.com to find out how to get tickets and what movies we are watching and all that good stuff. All right. So anyone have anything that they want to plug or talk about?
I mean, I'll shout out season 6 of Big Mouth is about to start in a couple of weeks. And then also Star Trek Prodigy, which is up right now. The new season just came out and it's fantastic.
I'm very excited to check that out. Lower Decks is on Paramount Plus. And
funny.
Because I'm part of Paramount Plus, I also plugged that I was on The Good Fight with Christine Baranski and Andre Braugher. And it was...
that's like your favorite show.
It is. So I was very excited to be on there. It was really fun.
So cool.
I play a lawyer who defends a fetus.
Very cool.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Who plays the fetus?
Well, we never meet.
I only asked because I auditioned for it.
Well, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, there was a lot of, it was Johnny Lee Miller.
Johnny Lee Miller.
A lot of politics that went into that, Jason.
I'm sure. June, anything?
Nope.
All right, well, listen to the deep dive. And a big thank you to our Discord for being so active, but a giant thank you to our producers. And I am talking about Cody Fisher, our brand new producer, Scott Sani, Molly Reynolds, our engineer, Devin, and our publisher, July Diaz. You can check out all of our amazing merch. We got tons of it at tpublic.com/stores/HDTGM, but make sure you go to the How Did This Get Made store, not the ripoff stores on there. But thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next week and continue to discuss this and so much more on Last Looks. Anyway, bye for now.